emotionless and indifferent as we think we are when we think of the home economicus. For example, our behavior is also affected by phenomena like heuristics. That is, we take decisions according to mental shortcuts that may affect our rationality. We are affected also by herding. That is, like we behave like the other people behave, even if this may not be that rational. We behave, our behavior, our decisions are also affected by phenomena like framing. That is, the same question, if posed in different ways, can lead to different answers. So in the end, all these assumptions on our rationality and on the other characteristics of the home economicus have been refuted. Also, we are human beings, so we are not emotionless as the home economicus wants us to be. And we are not that selfish. We happen to be generous every now and then, and we happen to be not indifferent to what happens to the other people. And so, to sum up this point, these assumptions have largely been refuted. By the way, the model of home economicus we are so much relying on in mainstream economics is generally attributed to Mill, but in fact it was created by Mill's detractors as a caricature of Mill's idea. So this model originally wasn't even proposed as a correct model to follow. It was proposed as a model that was wrong and that was there to be criticized. So, well, don't get me wrong on this though. I am criticizing very much the model of home economicus, but I'm not saying that the model of home economicus is totally wrong. I recognize that it has some good points. For example, it's inspiring. It inspires us to do more better, and this also justifies our need to take care of ourselves and of our well-being. So it's not totally wrong, but still it has great relevant shortcomings, and in this presentation I'm focusing on those. So we have this model of home economicus, and we would be very lucky if we could say that this idea hasn't affected our behavior. But instead what happens is that the fact that there was this idea and that this idea is taught in economics courses is actually changing us. I mean, we wouldn't behave very much like a home economicus, but the fact that we are taught in economics courses that this is the model and that this is how we behave is actually changing our behavior. For example, in their books on the prisoner's dilemma, Rappaport and Chammer define as not strategically sophisticated enough those people who decide to cooperate, while the only rational defensible strategy is deception. So we have a situation in which we don't behave like the model states we behave, and someone seems to point out that we are the wrong ones and not the model, which is awkward, funny, I don't know. Also, there are studies that demonstrated that economics students tend to act selfishly and rationally more than the other students. So we have a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is, economics students are taught that this is how we should behave and end up behaving in that way. So in the end, who's wrong, the human being or the economics assumptions? Well, this is a bit of a rhetoric question. In this case, I would say the economics assumptions. If we want to formalize this, we have the society, and we have economics, which is a product of the society, and we have economics influencing the society. But let's take this to a step further. The idea of home economicus is again changing our behavior. For example, let's read this. God implanted self-interest in the human breast as the motive force of progress. By following self-interest, we follow God's will. How can a creature be so arrogant as to want to frustrate totally or partially the purpose of his creator? So there were some thinkers, writers, experts who wrote that we are supposed to act as a home economicus, and that this is the right thing to do, this is the ethical thing to do, this is what we should do, and if we don't do this, we are doing wrong. So we have I formalize this in this way. That is, economics, as I said before, is influencing society. Economics is influencing ethics, and economics is like passing through ethics to justify itself to influence the society. But we are here at a conference on ecological economics, so let's not think only about the relationships among humans. Let's think about the human-earth relationships. We thought we had this model of society, ethics, and economics, but we actually had this model of society, ethics, and economics in the planet Earth. And we had, as Bernard Subsystems said, the fact that the model of Homo economicus helped to increase environmental degradation. Feelings of responsibility for the global commons are not supported by the Homo economicus model, which directly or indirectly advises us to exploit unpriced environmental goods and to free ride in case of public goods. So we have this model, this idea, that is affecting our society and that is making our society also rich and, as we saw this morning, trespass the planetary boundaries. I formalize this in this way. That is, this system is enlarging and increasing its effects until becoming unsustainable for the planet. But let's take it another step further. Daly and Cobb described the difference between oikonomia and chrematistics. And the definition is that oikonomia is a sensible management of the household, while chrematistics is the pursuit of the accumulation of money. And economics is a word derived from oikonomia, and which is a very nice expression, a warm, caring expression of sensible management of the household. And we have Daly and Cobb who made a distinction between oikonomia and chrematistics. And they said that oikonomia is having a long-term perspective, while chrematistics is adopting a short-term perspective. We have that oikonomia is taking into account the cost and benefits to the whole community, while chrematistics is taking into account only the cost and benefits to the parties involved in the transaction. And we have that oikonomia cares about the use value and its limited accumulation, while chrematistics is caring about the abstract exchange value and its infinite accumulation. If we think of the economics we are taking so much into account now, or if we think about the economics our society is based on, is very much close to chrematistics and a little too much far from the original idea of oikonomia. So to sum up, we have a system that relies too much on a model that is neither realistic nor completely desirable. We have that the adoption of this model also contributes to the ongoing degradation of the environment. And we have that it seems that we are pursuing the maximization of a measure of economic success. But this measure is actually not as accurate as it seems, because we think we are pursuing economia, but we are actually pursuing very, very often chrematistics. Thank you for your attention. And this, as I said at the beginning, this has been a very destructive moment. But usually, when someone destroys this way some principle that is very popular and very well known, the most common question is, so what do you propose as an alternative? I would say that in the literature there are several alternatives to the model of Homo economicus, and that tomorrow, if you're interested, I'm making the presentation on some new alternatives to the Homo economicus. So if you're interested, tomorrow at 9:45, session 3.4, there is the constructive moment that is following this destruction moment. Thank you.